Maddy Fero is the founder of Little Rad Things, a kids' clothing brand specializing in ethically sourced, vintage inspired apparel for boys. Her journey into children's fashion began in 2020 when she taught herself to sew as a creative outlet during the pandemic. Little Rad Things is dedicated to high quality materials, ethical production, and encouraging families to embrace every radical moment of childhood. Since launching in 2021, Little Rad Things has grown to serve over 30,000 parents, and its designs have been spotted on the children of various motorsports professionals. The brand continues to expand, transitioning to being fully American made by summer 2025. Its success is fueled by a passionate community of parents who believe their children can create positive change in the world by doing rad things for others. Maddy's style for the brand blends her family roots and love for motorsports, inspired by a fun fusion of 1970s fashion and racing culture. From 2013 to 2016, Maddy worked as a spokesmodel for NASCAR, where she met her husband, David, a mechanic in the Premier Cup Series. Looking ahead, Maddy's excited to continue innovating and growing Little Rad Things. She remains committed to offering apparel parents. She remains committed to offering apparel parents are proud to put on their children while staying true to the brand's core values of honesty, quality, and sustainability, and creating job opportunities for American workers. Maddy, I'm so thrilled to chat with you today. I have clients who have boys, and they have told me it is so hard to find fun boy clothes. So I'm really excited to expand their knowledge about your brand.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm always grateful for the opportunity to share my story, my mistakes, and hopefully inspire somebody to go after their dreams.
Yeah, I mean, it's so cool that you took the pandemic as an opportunity to learn a new skill. Why did you decide to start to sew?
Yeah, so it's kind of a weird story. I don't know. I love how gracefully you said that I took it on myself to have a new skill because really at the time I viewed it as a stress outlet. I was working during the pandemic for a fitness franchise that was across the nation. And I had around 70 franchise partners whose locations had to close. You
Wow.
know, during the pandemic, the last thing that we were allowed to do really was to go to a gym and sweat, especially a small gym, right? Locally owned. So I was spending most of my days on the phone with these franchise partners, walking my neighborhood, which is one single street, talking to them about just any and all things. Like, how can we get members to stay? How can we be creative and, supplement their workouts at home? How can we get them to buy nutrition products? Like, just anything to drive revenue for these franchise partners. And it was extremely stressful. I
Mhm.
had my, I think at the time he was 8 months old. I've done enough podcasts now. I should know exactly how old he was at the time, but I think he was around 8 months old because we had had him in August, end of August. And I was like, okay, I need to find something to entertain myself. And shopping online, I wasn't liking what I was seeing online for him. So I just was like, oh, let's take a knack at sewing. Like, I got time. I'm not going anywhere on the weekends. And maybe this will keep from me wanting to just like sit around and drink and watch TV.
Mhm.
So I ordered some fabric online from this cool store called Hawthorne that makes like the coolest unique prints. Like you can find like rad lightning bolts and palm trees and all this stuff that's kind of vintagey anyway. And I started making overalls. That was kind of like the first thing I started with. And then I made some t-shirts and some little like bloomer type shorts. And I was posting it on Instagram, and friends and people that I hadn't talked to since college were reaching out. asking if I could make stuff for people in their family, whether it be nieces and nephews or their own little ones, which was crazy. So that's the root of where it all started from.
That's so cool. I love that. And I think this is an important lesson for business owners that you don't have to, you can always start local. Like you don't necessarily have to pitch yourself online. I just have always seen that people just try cold reach outs right away because they're like, I can't go to my family. Like, what are they going to think of me? When really, the local community that you've created are the best buyers and the best people to try out your stuff. Was that
Yeah.
something that you found helpful, like getting instant feedback from friends and family?
For sure. And honestly, I think for a lot of people, myself included, because I'm learning this now with trying to build my own personal brand behind Little Rad Things, I think it's really difficult at first to get over the fear of what other people might think and just know that it doesn't matter. And for any person that may look at what you're posting as like, ew, she's doing that, there's also a whole trough of people that are behind you supporting you and just might not even tell you right away. Like, it's kind of funny at this level I'm at now. I have people all the time that are like, I've been cheering for you since day one. And I never knew. But, it's one of those things that I think that's the hardest part about starting locally is a lot of people are scared to rip the band-aid and just put themselves out there.
Mm,
But it is the best thing to do. Just like you said, like you can get your first 50 sales from just people you know. And if you're on a platform like Amazon, like, that's gonna skyrocket you to, like, being relevant in their algorithm. So,
totally. Did you decide to do Amazon first before opening your own D2C? Or
that's a great question. I did not. So, we actually just sent in our first product to Amazon on Saturday, which I'm extremely excited about, that being, like, a whole new opportunity for us to get in front of new moms. We started with a nursing cover over there. So, we're very much focusing our, like, infant, new mom energy on Amazon, and then retaining a lot of, like, our toddler clothing, youth clothing on the D2C side.
so smart. And that way you can bridge the gap, right? For people that don't know you yet, you're introducing them to your product and brand with something I know every mom, because you guys, I literally went on Amazon and I looked at every single nursing cover, muslin thing I could find, right? So that I had it all and I didn't have to worry about it the day that my baby girl came into the world. So it is such a great idea to start on Amazon, or if you decided to do D2C with your own website, then you can always create new kind of products to draw other people in. I love that. So innovative.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. That is something that scared me for a while, and I will tell you predominantly because being an apparel brand, you have a ton of SKUs, a lot of inventory to manage that with Amazon. And as a small business owner as well, like I'll go into UPS and you see people in UPS with just bags of returns. And as an apparel owner, I'm like, oh, I don't want to touch that. But really, the more I've methodically thought about it, to do it in the right way and put some infant products on there, be available to be a part of their registry that people can put our product in their baby shower registry for
So
somebody.
smart.
I think that's a really cool, unique way to look at it. So I would just challenge any business owner to always reassess because what you think might be the best in the beginning isn't always the best long term. And I know in the beginning I was like, I'm not going to go on Amazon. I said that like 6 months ago to a mentor, and then I actually told them yesterday that I decided to send product in, and they were like, "No way," just shocked. Like, "You've turned a page." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm starting slow. I'm, crawling, and then we'll continue to go as we see
Yeah.
success."
Very methodical though. Like I haven't heard it done that way, but I really do think that is such a brilliant way of introducing your brand to Amazon. So, from someone that's been doing marketing for many years now, I really applaud you for getting your everything out there first on socials and then bringing it full circle to Amazon. It's cool.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, we'll see. Fingers crossed. I don't
Yes.
know if my strategy will be successful yet, but I have a good feeling about it based off of my audience and just some strategic things from a marketing perspective we can do to kind of kickstart our sales on there.
So we did want to mention about marketing. You mentioned how you were posting things online and people were telling you, oh, I want this. How were you able to expand from your local community to that nationwide audience?
Yeah, so a lot of different things. The first thing would just be posting consistently. Once I committed to starting a business and really going after it, it was like, okay, I need to figure out a strategy and make sure that I'm showing up every single day. And even to this day, I'm extremely anal about it to a fault. Like, my husband sometimes will be like, "Do you have to do that right now?" Because I have a tendency to do a lot of my social media to-dos first thing in the morning. It's just easiest for me. I get my coffee, my kids are not awake yet, so I sit down and I just knock it out. But consistently posting, I always post a reel in the morning. I usually in the afternoon post like a static image to showcase our brand better and our products, or I'll do another reel. That was a huge one for me. Finding influencers to start to network with. And like, quite honestly, I started really small, like finding super good micro influencers that
Mhm.
can represent your brand are huge. And then just being really engaging for me has helped drive my community. Like, what I put on social is me. And when somebody tags my brand with their little one wearing our clothes, I typically will try to send a video message back thanking them for taking the time to tag us, for following us, all that stuff. So it's nitty gritty. It might not be what anyone wants to hear, but I just put in the hours and the reps, quite
And
honestly.
and you personalize, which I think separates you from the pack. Now, what made you decide to specifically go with the, boys market?
Yeah, so I have 2 boys, 3 and 5, which was really kind of what made me wanna do boys' clothes. I wasn't finding anything cool for them in the stores. However, when we first started Little Rad Things, I will say we started with screen printed T-shirts, so they were very unisex, and then when I decided to learn manufacturing and do our first full manufactured run, I wanted to manufacture a really cute swing dress because I was like, "If I had a girl, I would wear this thing. This is so cute." And the patterns for girls, like, when you're sewing, when you're teaching yourself to sew, there's a lot more patterns for girls than boys, go figure.
Yeah.
So, we tested a girl swing dress. It took a long time for us to move through it, and I think it's just because predominantly my aesthetic is very, I don't wanna say punk because we're not punk, but very vintagey, a little different, and it's not something that I think is standard for girls. Like,
Mhm.
if I had a little girl, she would wear nothing but my stuff. But I
Yeah.
think it takes a little bit more effort to put together outfits that are deemed cute for a
Mm,
girl with little rad things right now where we're at than a boy. So,
got it. Now, I mean, this probably is due to your aesthetic too. Like before you even did any of this, and even before you were a boy mom, I mentioned that in your bio, you were a model with NASCAR. That's so cool. A speaker. I'm sure you met a lot of
yep,
interesting people, and also you probably developed your own style with dress.
for sure. So I can say from my lifetime, I've always been a tomboy. Like, my parents had me in every sport I ever wanted to play. I really fell into golf in high school and played golf in college, and I was all about being, like, the girly girl during that season of my life. And then I kind of fell back into, like, my aesthetic, which has always been a little bit more tomboyish, comfortable, not skirts, none of that stuff, not heels. Like, I'm a tall girl. I am 5'8", so it's like, if I ever wore anything with a wedge, I felt like I was towering over most of the men around me. So, yeah, I mean, falling into the NASCAR role was really cool because NASCAR at the time didn't have a lot of female population in the sport. It's evolved a lot over the last decade and a half. But it was cool because I got to be in a very masculine environment, but still be feminine and put my own little twist on it. And I love cars and I love like the vintage NASCAR aesthetic. And so you can see a lot of that in what we come out with for sure. Like it very much matches the tone.
Very cool. Interestingly enough, one time I actually sang the national anthem, not in NASCAR. It was one of the drag racing competitions in Indiana.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, yeah. So I loved skiing because I just had never grown up with it. I grew up in Wisconsin. And so seeing everyone's so ecstatic about these cars, it was really cool experience for me. And everyone had like a way of or a way of dressing, and I really dug it. Yeah, it's a different culture. What was it like for you, you know, learning more about the culture as you were in that career space?
Yeah, it was a wild ride, honestly. I was a young 20-year-old that got to travel every weekend and go to clubs and parties and events and interview celebrities. I interviewed Vince Vaughn and John Cena, like
So cool.
anybody that was promoting a movie from 2014 to 2016 typically would come to NASCAR at some point to promote their movie. And so they always made my position, the Miss Sprint Cup, like interview them in front of the fans because we were really viewed as like the concierge to the fans on like the behind the scenes of the sport. So
So
it was an awesome ride. Obviously, I met my husband, which I say for ease of complexity, we met at NASCAR. We technically met at a run club at a brewery with NASCAR friends. And then of course, like we started talking and dating and going on dates while we were traveling together, which was really cool. And he still works in NASCAR. So that's a fun part about, building a business and putting some of our designs in the route of racing to an extent is that he's still heavily involved, and so our kids think it's, like, the coolest thing ever, like, they get to see daddy sometimes on TV, and then they get to wear clothes that we're making, and it's a full circle thing of, you know, my career, like, it just has
yeah.
moved in the weirdest way, like, I never would have thought when I was in NASCAR that a decade later, I would have a kids' clothing brand that has retro vintage cars on a lot of the designs, so
That must be amazing too. Like the very first time you saw your brand on a professional driver's kid, what was that moment like for you?
yeah, I would say less the professional driver's kid, quite honestly, and a crew member who I didn't know. During a race, they did a segment on him because he had a life-changing accident, and so they covered him and his wife and what happened and how they've evolved, and literally their kid was in one of our shirts, and I was freaking out because the whole segment was about them, and I didn't know them, and I was like, "Wow, these people shopped for me," and I didn't know them and didn't have a connection with them, so that was really cool. It's always cool to see somebody wearing your stuff, and part of that has been through, like, me reaching out and hoping that they would let me send them some stuff. Part of it has been people that we're connected with in the community that just wanna shop and support us, so
Mm.
it's been really neat. Probably the neatest thing for us that my husband geeked out about is there is a very popular motocross rider whose wife has shopped with us, like, multiple times. Their family probably has just about one of every single one of our pieces, and, like, the first time that we saw their last name on a packing slip, my husband was like, "No way. No way. This can't be them." And then when he realized it was, he was like, "That's so cool."
That's
So,
awesome. Oh,
yeah.
it's really neat, like, from your journey at the beginning to now, like, how much it has built too, and I really admire that you are doing the leap to get everything made in
Thank
What
you.
what made you decide to do that?
So that was something from day one that was always a goal, always a part of the vision. We are just really proud to be Americans and we are grateful for our opportunities here. We respect that we have amazing opportunities here. And so we were like very prideful and we want stuff that's made here, keep our money here, like help create jobs here. How can we do it?
Mhm,
And when we first started, we were getting t-shirts from companies that sell blanks that are made in America.
mhm,
And then when we started to move and get bigger and we were like, this is not the quality we want to have, when we went down the manufacturing path, people don't really care to work with tiny, tiny brands that are self-funded, in the beginning. So we did pull our manufacturing to overseas, but I'm a big believer in, like, higher power things playing out in my life, and we happen to have a manufacturer try to open a clothing extension of her business 30 minutes from where we live, and this was 2 years ago in 2022, and we were still pretty small, and I shot her an email, found her on LinkedIn, and was like, "Can I please meet with you? I run this clothing brand and I wanna meet." And she's honestly an amazing person. She was like, "Sure, I'll meet with you." And we met, and I think she was like, "This is cute. Good job." And we've kept in touch. She ended up closing the extension she was trying to open here, which is really sad. So all of her production is based out of the Los Angeles area. But we've kept in touch, and this year she was like, "Wow, okay, this is serious. Last year you 10x where you were. This year you're already gonna 2x. Like, let's partner, let's figure out how to do this so that you can continue to grow." Because one of the other things with manufacturing that's really difficult is a lot of these manufacturers, unless you know to set up terms with them that can help your cash flow, you're paying a lot of money upfront and you're out a lot of capital to be able to carry the inventory. So one of the things that's been amazing is not only is she willing to help us bring production here and create jobs here and sustainability here, she's also willing to like work with us on those terms, which is incredible. So
amazing. Yeah,
yeah.
it's once again, it's that connection piece. You personally reached out, right? And building that relationship, then she thought of you.
Yep. Absolutely. And you saying that actually just made me have a moment of self-reflection. I've had a lot of that happen in my life, and I could tell numerous stories of that happening. Like, I as a high schooler, like, had a vision that I wanted to be a college athlete that played golf, and I worked my butt off, and I sent notices out to school with my highlight tapes, and I made it happen, and then in college, I wanted to intern at a national news network, and I made that happen, and I wanted to work in NASCAR, and I think a lot of what goes into business ownership and success really is, like, vision casting, and you hear some of the biggest people that are out there say that. Very grateful for all of it, and it doesn't mean it's easy. You know that too,
No,
so
no. I started this podcast in 2020. So I just wanted to connect with people and learn about them. At first, it was just my friends. So I was connecting with some of my friends that would never in a million years speak to the audiences, to the masses and share. They're too humble, right? And so hearing their stories and also some of their business journeys, that was like so inspiring and it connected me with them on a different level. And over the years, it's been about hearing that hero's journey and what they're bringing to the community. So I love chatting with you about your journey and like hearing what you did before and how you got there because you just have a hustle in you, girl. And it's so impressive. I love it.
thank you.
Well,
Probably a twinge of crazy for sure, and
you
it's
have to be a
not.
little bit, right? We
You
all have to be
do,
little to, to pursue entrepreneurship, but yeah.
you do, and I think the biggest thing is just, like, putting yourself out there all the time, willing to just constantly pivot and move and hustle,
Yeah.
literally hustle.
Mhm. So there are many hurdles as a business owner that we face. Obviously, what you just shared with me, that was a hurdle. Was there one that almost made you completely stop?
That is such a tough question. I've had one specifically that was really upsetting for a day. It was a feeling that I, like, never want to feel again, but I've never had any that have made me completely stop, and I think that's because I am truly so fortunate. I have a partner that, like, believes in me through and through, and he is like, "There is no quit. There is no such thing as quit." Outside of when I had our 2nd son and I had already started Little Rad Things, I had planned to take this very powerful marketing job with a startup that was VC backed, and in my first week, they kinda pushed me to come in early, and within my first week, I was on a call with, like, one of the founders, and my newborn was with me, and the founder didn't look too pleased that the newborn was with me at, like, 8 weeks. And after that first week, I was like, "I don't know if I can do this." And my husband was like, "Quit. Just quit." That's the only
Yeah.
time he's ever backed me to quit something. And he was like, "You don't need that job. Like, you're gonna go do this clothing thing and you're gonna be fine." So it
Mm.
is what it is. But as for the moment within the business that has m made me feel not great. It goes back to financing, inventory, and we had a situation where we placed our biggest ever run of stuff back in the summer, and it was right before we were going on vacation, and I hadn't opened, like, a line of credit. Like, me having started this without a ton of business background, quite honestly, I didn't realize that was an option. I just figured, like, you put things on credit cards and you pay the credit cards off after you have your sales, like, not a problem. Well, this was a big enough inventory order that my credit card company decided while we were on vacation to shut our card off. So it
Oh,
led to mild panic and sweating and crying and melting down on the balcony while our kids snapped. But it's fine. We've moved on and figured it out and everything was fine, but it's just, that's one of those ones, like, you feel like a failure, like that, or at least to me, like, I grew up in a house that was like, "You don't take on debt. You don't do these risky things." Like, my dad was very methodical with his finances, so for me, I think it was more like hearing my dad's voice that I haven't heard since I was 18, like,
yeah,
"What are you doing?"
totally, totally. Now I know a big reason what you do is for your family. Why do they inspire you so much to create this clothing line?
Oh my gosh, on so many different levels, right? To have the freedom to have more time with them, even though I could argue right now that I don't in some ways. To show them, I think the biggest thing is to show them hustle and show them you can put your mind to something and do it. I don't think we have enough of that anymore in culture, quite honestly. My kids are such a part of every piece of the business. I mean, they want to put the clothes on, they want to help pack orders, they go in our garage and check out our inventory and ask all the time about when we're gonna have a warehouse to play in, like, they are definitely the key motivator for me, but I think there's so much good that comes from it that they get to see that lays an impact on them, and honestly, lays an impact on my community. Like, I have other moms in my area that are, like, so inspired by this, and I don't feel like a success even though I have accomplished a major feat, or so people tell me,
Yeah.
but I'm also one of those people that is unfortunately never gonna sit back and be like, "Wow, I did it." I even think someday if I make it as big as I hope I do, where I have a huge team that works with me and we serve thousands and maybe millions of parents, I'm not gonna be like, "Yeah, I did it."
But
That's just
that's
not who I am.
would you say that's imposter syndrome or like what do you think in the back of your brain holds you back from saying, "Wow, I did it"?
I would say probably just the never feeling like I've done enough. I don't know. I grew up with a dad that was, I don't wanna say harsh, like, my dad was amazing. I think he just always had really high standards for me, and I was the child that didn't have things come easily. my brother, could like not even try and be a straight A student where I had to really, really work hard to get B's. And my dad was an educator. So it was like kind of expected that I achieve a high level of success all the time in school. So
Mm.
I think for me, that's probably a lot of it is having grown up with that as a foundation. It pushes me.
Well, I know that we're meant to connect and collaborate even more in the future. You're absolutely incredible, and I want us to stay in each other's worlds. Like, this has been such a fun conversation. Do you seriously need to check out the clothes? I wish I had a little boy right now so that they could wear it. So, just wanted to throw that out there for you. Just a side note, but yeah.
Thank you. I do have one girl model right now whose mom is wicked talented at styling because she reached out to me, which I was like so bumped about. Like she takes the coolest photos and her little girl, if you ever need LRT outfit inspo for a girl, like she pulls together the cutest things with her clothes. And I'm like, "Ah, I would dress my daughter like that if I had one.
That's
Maybe
all.
one day."
Yeah, definitely. Well, I always like to end the interview with this question because stress comes into our life so often, but we also learn so much from it. So, how has stress saved your life?
Ooh, that is a wonderful question. I would say that it has saved my life by challenging me to work harder and dream bigger. I think that we always carry some weight of stress, but I'm glad that my stress is pushing me to be a very high achieving individual because you could look at stress and you could cower and back down. And that's not the avenue that I take. So that's where I appreciate stress. It challenges me and it makes me a better person on so many different levels.
Amazing. Maddie, thank you so much for coming. And I want people to be able to find your clothes and connect with you because you're the one behind the brands. So, how can they do that?
Yeah, of course. So we are littleradthings.com. That's our website. And then you can find us on social media at the Little Rad Things. Or if you want to reach me directly, it's at Maddy Fero. And I'm always happy to help anyone in terms of business and, chat.
Incredible. Well, thank you again, Maddie, for coming on Stress Free Solutions. And everyone, remember to be kind to yourself on this self love journey. Take care. If you're still listening to this episode, that means you're going to receive something very special, some insights into what's in store this season. Yes, don't worry. I have amazing guests that are going to be hopping on the pod, sharing their stories, tips on how to reduce stress, and of course, healthy solutions. What you are going to get in addition to that are more stories from me. You see, the word of 2025 for me is speak. And I want to speak more because oftentimes we silence ourselves, we take a back seat. And so I want to share stories with you where maybe I failed at something, but it taught me a lesson, or I took a risk and it really paid off. These are the moments that we all should continue to share. And I want you to know that wherever you're at, you can do it too. It's just taking a step forward so then you can have some momentum to take the next series of steps to hit that goal. I can't wait to share them with you. So make sure that you subscribe to Stress Free Solutions today. And don't forget to share with your friends, your coworkers, your family. And of course, as always, I want you to be kind to yourself on this self love journey.